Hey everyone, good evening. The air out here smells like the end of something burnt pine, wet ash, and that metallic tang you get right before a thunderstorm rolls in. The mountains look hollow tonight, like they're trying to hold their breath. If you listen closely, you can hear the way the wind catches in the dead branches, making them clack together like bones. I probably won't make it out alive. So before we get too deep into this, take a second to like the video and subscribe to the channel, but only if you actually like what I'm doing here. And do me a favor, drop your current location and the time in the comments. I want to know who's out there with me tonight. Now turn off the lights, switch on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's begin tonight's journey. The fire line still glows faintly orange in the distance, the kind of glow that feels like it's breathing. You can't really capture that in photos, the slow pulse of dying embers, but standing here, it's alive. The wildfire tore through this ridge for 6 days straight before finally calming down, leaving behind blackened tree trunks and rocks that steam if you touch them too long. There's a sticky kind of heat to the soil even now. The state guys, the Division of Reclamation, they keep saying the ground is unstable, that this whole slope is basically a giant ashtray waiting to slide off the mountain. But when the smoke finally cleared this morning, something impossible showed up. A hatch. Half-melted steel corrugated like it belonged to an old mining shaft, stamped with faded yellow letters MCC number 12. Closed, 1966. A place that shouldn't exist anymore. Here's a one-liner for you. Sometimes the ground remembers what people forget. Standing this close to it, the air feels heavier, like the shaft itself is exhaling after decades of silence. The rescue crew rigged up floodlights around it, but the light doesn't feel right. It's too sharp, bouncing off the metal edges, stabbing the ash-thick air instead of clearing it. Every time I lean closer, the smell changes pine smoke. Then something older, something sour, like wet stone that's been sealed for too long. The chief investigator, Aaron Vance, that Aaron Vance, the one who cracked the Fremont case last year, said it out loud earlier, almost like she regretted thinking it. Places like this don't stay closed on accident. That stuck with me. Weird fact of the night, if you press your ear to the ground near old mine shafts, you can sometimes hear airflow moving inside them. Geologists call it subsurface convection. I call it creepy, free sound effects. And here's some elder wisdom for balance. My grandfather used to say, "If the earth opens its mouth, don't climb in." I wish someone had told Megan Doyle and Ryan Strickland that 31 years ago, because this charred little opening in the ground is the first real lead in their disappearance since 1993. People keep asking me why I came here instead of just covering it from a studio like everyone else. Here's why. The moment they pulled the first panel off the hatch, the temperature shifted. The smoke still hung around, sure, but the air coming out of that hole was different. Too cold, too clean. Like something had been sealed tight inside, waiting for the fire to uncover it. And here's another one-liner for the night. Nothing good waits 30 years to be found. The crew is nervous. You can tell by the way they talk in clipped sentences too fast, like if they stop talking, the silence will swallow them. Even the floodlight operator keeps shifting his stance like his body doesn't want to face the shaft head-on. I'm sitting cross-legged near the caution tape mic, clipped to my jacket, recording this for you guys. There's a hum from the generators behind me, steady and low mixing with that soft whistle of mountain wind. If you close your eyes, it almost sounds like ocean waves. Someone joked earlier, bad timing, but still. At least we won't need AC tonight. I laughed, but it felt wrong in my throat. You ever have that moment when a place feels too quiet? Like even the animals agreed to leave? That's this ridge. No birds, no crickets, nothing but us and the wind. Remember the toothpaste incident I told you about in my last upload? Yeah, this has the same energy when something ordinary suddenly feels wrong. Academic quote break. Because yes, even in the middle of nowhere, my brain does this. The absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. That's Carl Sagan, and it's basically the FBI's motto right now, because until 2 days ago, Megan and Ryan were just two smiling faces on an aging flyer. Now, this hatch is about to rewrite everything. The theory is simple. They never made it to Mirror Lake. They never even made it to the ranger station. Someone took them off course, and maybe this shaft is where the trail ends. The crew chief just signaled. They're starting to clear more debris. The sound of metal scraping rock carries weirdly in the thin air, sharp and echoing. Every so often, the ash slides whispering down the slope like dry sand. I'm not going in tonight, don't freak out, but they're planning to lower a camera first thing in the morning. And if you're still listening right now, here's a third one-liner for you to chew on while you drift off to sleep later. The mountains don't bury secrets. People do. The floodlights are starting to buzz, overworked from the heat. The air tastes metallic, almost like lightning is about to strike, but the sky is perfectly clear. Someone just muttered that this is the kind of night ghosts like to walk. I don't even believe in ghosts, but I'm not laughing this time. So yeah, that's where we are on a blackened slope, staring into a hole that shouldn't exist, waiting for tomorrow to peel back 31 years of silence. If I sound calm, I'm not. I'm just quiet. And if you're still with me, thanks for staying up. Don't forget to post your time and place in the comments. I'm curious who's out there keeping me company tonight. All right, the wind just picked up again, carrying that cold breath from the shaft. I swear it feels like it's sighing. Let's hope tomorrow answers more questions than it asks. They started at dawn, the kind of pale gray morning that makes everything look like an old photograph. I swear the air itself was holding back, like the mountain hadn't decided if it wanted to let us in yet. The floodlights were still on from last night, buzzing with that low mosquito wing hum, throwing long shadows against the blackened soil. Erin Vance stood at the edge of the hatch, arms crossed, her badge clipped to her vest, but dulled with ash. She had that look, you know, the one detectives get in crime shows when they're about to flip the first domino. Except this wasn't TV. This was 31 years of silence breaking open under a burned-out sky. Weird fact to kick things off. Did you know underground mines can actually breathe? Warm air inside expands and escapes, pulling in cooler air from outside through cracks or old ventilation shafts. It's a whole atmospheric pressure thing. And guess what? This hatch is breathing right now. You can feel it if you stand close enough. Every few seconds, a whisper of cold air brushes your face like the shaft itself is sighing. One-liner moment. If the ground exhales, it means something inside is still alive, even if it's just the story. The team worked slow, cutting through the warped steel paneling like surgeons afraid to nick an artery. When the first plate finally gave way, a sharp metallic screech tore through the clearing, making everyone flinch. I caught it on audio. You're gonna hate it when I upload later. It sounds too human, like a groan pulled from deep in the earth. A tech leaned in, shining a flashlight into the exposed gap. About 4 feet of collapsed rock. Then it opens up, he said. His voice cracked on the word opens. And here's some elder wisdom, courtesy of my aunt, who used to work search and rescue. Never trust a hole that was sealed on purpose. I'm trying, Aunt Carla. I really am. Erin glanced over at me once, and I swear she almost told me to leave. But she didn't, maybe because she knows I'm just as hooked as she is now. Instead, she nodded toward the hatch. They'll lower the camera first, she said. Her voice was steady, but her hands tightened around her notebook. The camera rig looked like something from a sci-fi movie, thin cable, bright LED, and a lens that could probably read serial numbers off rusted tools in pitch dark. As they eased it down, the monitor flickered to life and we all leaned closer. The first few feet were nothing but rock and dirt, small clumps breaking loose as the cable shifted. Then the walls changed, smoother cut stone lined with old support beams burned black on the edges. Then came the first real gasp. A scrap of blue fabric snagged on a splintered beam, fluttering in the camera's artificial wind. It looked like a piece of a backpack strap. And that's when Aaron whispered, "Blue canvas." Megan carried one. One-liner number 2. Clues don't scream. They just wait for you to notice them. The camera kept lowering, the silence stretching tight. At around 20 feet down, the beam of light hit something metallic, curved-dented with streaks of rust running like veins. The operator adjusted the angle, and there it was, a front grille twisted sideways. Aaron exhaled, barely audible. "Tempo," she said. The white Ford Tempo. Their rental car. I felt my throat go dry, like the mountain had been holding this secret so long it didn't want to give it up. Elder wisdom break, because we need it. There's a saying in old mining towns, what goes into the shaft is already claimed by the dark. I guess Megan and Ryan didn't know they were making a one-way deal that morning in '93. Academic quote for the night. Someone on a forum once debated whether confirmation bias ruins cold case investigations, saying, "Sometimes finding what you expect blinds you to what you should fear." That's buzzing in my head right now. Because yeah, the tempo's here, but if this was just an accident, why was it sealed so carefully? Why didn't anyone map this shaft? The camera tilted deeper, panning around the car. One door was half sheared off metal, warped like it had been crushed in the fall. The passenger seat had a strip of torn fabric still clinging to it, sun-bleached but unmistakably plaid. Ryan's flannel. The feed crackled slightly as they adjusted the line. A second later, the camera tilted just right, and the rear seat came into view. My stomach turned, because wedged between the frame and a support beam, almost pressed into the stone, was something else, a shape too human to be anything else. I couldn't breathe for a second. But Aaron said it before anyone else could. It's not a body. It's clothes. Stuffed. And yeah, she was right. What I thought was an arm was just a jacket sleeve, balled up, waterlogged. No bodies. Not here. One-liner 3. Sometimes the absence of a body is worse than finding one. The crew pulled the camera back slowly, murmuring to each other, but no one smiled. Finding the car just makes everything messier. Erin finally turned to me, her expression unreadable. "This isn't where it ends," she said. "This is just where someone wanted us to stop looking." And that's when the wind picked up again, rushing out of the shaft in a long, cold sigh, like it agreed. I sat back against the ash-dusted rock's legs crossed, mic still clipped to my jacket, and just listened. Because sometimes listening tells you more than looking ever will. The mountain was quiet again. Too quiet. No birds, no bugs. Just that hollow hum of old air moving in and out of a hole that's been waiting 3 decades to tell the truth. And tomorrow we go deeper. The tent smells like wet canvas and burned earth, a mix that clings to your clothes even after you leave. It's not the kind of smell you forget, like campfire smoke, but heavier, sadder somehow. Inside, the floodlights are softer than the ones outside, almost yellow, and they make the photos on the corkboard look older than they already are. 2 faces stare back at me from a faded missing persons flyer tacked dead center. Megan Doyle, sun-bleached hair, a small silver nose ring that caught every bit of light in her passport photo, and Ryan Strickland, thick dark curls and a grin that made him look like the kind of guy who would talk his way out of parking tickets. They look young. Not just young, but the kind of young where you still believe road trips are magic and nothing bad happens to people like you. One-liner to start us off. The trouble with old photos is they don't age with the people who disappear from them. Aaron Vance stands next to me. Her arms crossed so tight it looks uncomfortable. They were supposed to check in by 2 p.m., she says almost to herself. Granby gas station confirmed they bought fuel at 11:27 a.m. after leaving Denver. That's the last verified sighting. She doesn't look at me while she talks, just at the board, like staring long enough might rewrite the ending. Weird fact break. Did you know that in 1993, rental car records weren't fully digitized yet? It took investigators weeks back then just to confirm Megan and Ryan's Ford Tempo had actually left the Denver airport lot. Now, 30 years later, we find it at the bottom of a shaft no one had on record. I lean closer to the corkboard, studying the few other photos tacked up beside the flyer. Some are grainy scans from old cameras, and one of them shows Megan and Ryan standing in front of their car at a Trailhead Ryan in that same oversized flannel Megan holding a folded paper map. But the thing that gets me isn't the map or the flannel. It's her eyes. Even frozen in a decades-old photo, Megan's looking at the camera with that half-curious, half-skeptical expression people have when they're not quite sure they trust the person taking the picture. Elder wisdom moment. Courtesy of my grandma this time. Trust your face before you trust your words. Your face doesn't lie as easily. I wonder if Megan's face was already trying to warn her back then. A tech rolls in a portable table, and everyone shifts as he sets down a clear evidence box. Inside are the first personal items pulled from the shaft. A cracked flashlight, rusted and dull. A blue canvas backpack, dirt-caked but still zipped. And a single hiking boot with frayed laces, the heel worn down. In that way boots get when someone walks a lot on uneven ground. Erin kneels down, staring at the backpack like it might start talking. Blue canvas, she repeats softly. Same brand her roommate described. The room feels different now, like the air just got heavier. One-liner. Two objects don't remember the people who own them, but they carry the weight anyway. There's a debate happening at the far table. I catch fragments of it between the low hum of the generators outside. Accident theory doesn't hold if the hatch was sealed. You're letting the discovery bias creep in. Remember what the training says, correlation does not imply causation. An academic quote right there, word for word. It makes sense logically, but tell me how a couple ends up wedged in a decommissioned mine miles off their route, and I might actually listen. Erin cuts the debate short with a glance sharp enough to slice paper. The tech opens the evidence box, carefully lifting the backpack first. The zipper sticks, then gives way with a gritty sound that makes my skin crawl. Inside are a few items sealed separately. A folded paper map, water-damaged but still legible in places. A cheap disposable camera. And what looks like a notebook, the cover warped pages stuck together. Erin holds the notebook carefully, almost reverently, like she's holding something alive. She flips through a few stuck pages, then closes it fast. We'll have forensics handle it, she says, but her face has gone pale. I don't ask why. Not yet. Weird fact interlude because we need a breath. In 1993, Kodak disposable cameras were the most common travel cameras. And even after decades in bad conditions, the film inside can sometimes still be developed. Meaning, yeah, there might be pictures we've never seen. And just like that, my brain keeps whispering, what if Megan left us clues she didn't mean to? One-liner 3. The dead don't talk, but sometimes their hobbies do. I sit down on a folding chair near the edge of the tent mic, clipped as always, speaking low for you guys, even though no one's paying me much attention. Think about it, I whisper. A map, a notebook, a camera. 3 ways to leave a story behind without ever meaning to. Maybe Megan's still talking to us right now, just delayed by 30 years. Erin glances my way briefly, then turns back to the board. She doesn't tell me to stop recording, so I don't. Because here's the thing, You don't just find a car in a sealed shaft and call it closure. This feels like the opening act of something much worse. Tomorrow, they're sending in a full crew to start clearing debris around the car. If they can get the tempo out intact, maybe they'll find more, maybe not. But tonight we just sit in this tent, staring at two smiling faces that never got the ending they planned. And if I'm honest, staring back at Megan's half-skeptical look on that flyer, it feels like she's daring us not to give up this time. The wind outside picks up, rattling the tent walls, making the photos sway slightly. Megan's photo tilts a little to the left, catching the yellow floodlight. I almost whisper back to her, "We're not stopping. Not this time." The highway map spread across the folding table looks like a treasure hunt gone wrong. Red circles mark their last confirmed stops: Denver Airport, Granby Gas Station, and a big X slashes across the sealed shaft where we found the tempo. The problem is, those dots don't line up, not even close. Erin leans over the table, one hand pressing on the map like she's trying to hold it down against a wind that doesn't exist. "Mirror Lake was here," she says, tapping the planned route. "They should have taken Highway 34 straight up." Instead, her finger slides west, tracing a crooked line that cuts through back roads no tourist would use. "They ended up here. One-liner to kick us off. A wrong turn is only wrong if you meant to take it, and here's the thing Megan and Ryan didn't mean to. Weird fact: time studies show about 70% of people who vanish on road trips are found within 3 miles of a main road, often because they made simple navigational mistakes. But 3 miles is a mistake. 20 miles into a restricted zone, that's a choice, or someone else's choice for you. Erin doesn't say it, but her silence says enough. This wasn't random. I shift in my chair, still recording for you guys, my mic, catching the soft hiss of the tent's portable heater. "So what pulled them off course?" I ask. "Bad directions. Somebody flagging them down." Erin's eyes flick to me, sharp but thoughtful. Maybe she says finally, or maybe they trusted the wrong person. Elder wisdom breaks straight from my dad this time. The first stranger you meet on the road might be the last stranger you meet on the road. He was a trucker. He'd know. I glance back at Megan's face on the board. Did she get that same gut feeling my dad always warned me about, or was she too polite to listen to it? The forensic tech Maddie joins us with the recovered map from Megan's backpack. She slides it onto the table next to the big modern one. The difference is obvious. Megan's map is marked with bright pink highlighter tracing the planned route, neat, careful lines. But there's also a smudge, a faint pencil mark leading west, almost erased, but still visible if you tilt it against the light. Erin notices it immediately. "That wasn't hers," she says flatly. "How can you tell?" I ask. "She used highlighters, not pencil. And she was tidy. Her roommate said so." We stare at the faint pencil line like it's shouting at us. One-liner too. Sometimes the loudest clue is the one someone tried hardest to erase. Academic quote moment, because you know I have one. The illusion of choice is a powerful form of control. I read that in some psychology journal once, and now it won't leave my head. Did Megan and Ryan think they were making their own choices that day, following what they thought was a better shortcut? Or did someone hand them a bad route wrapped up as helpful advice? Maddie shakes her head, chewing her lip. If they were flagged down, maybe they were told the main road was blocked. That happens sometimes, right? Erin doesn't answer, but her jaw tightens. Weird fact interlude to break the tension. In 1993, Colorado's Department of Transportation had no centralized alert system for road closures. Locals would sometimes hang handwritten signs or flag travelers down when weather or construction blocked routes. So yeah, if someone wanted to misdirect you, all they'd need was a fake sign and a convincing face. Erin finally speaks again, her tone clipped but steady. They left the gas station at 11:27. Estimated arrival at Mirror Lake was 2 p.m. They never checked in. No sightings along Highway 34 after that point. This detour. She taps the pencil-smudged line. Starts within 15 minutes of Granby. 15 minutes. That's all it took for them to vanish. One-liner 3, a single mile in the wrong direction can erase a lifetime in the right one. I glance at Ryan's photo again, that big grin frozen in time. He was probably the one driving. Did Megan protest when they turned off the main road? Did she say something like, "Are you sure this is the way?" Or did she just trust him because that's what you do on road trips with the person you love? Elder wisdom, repeat my grandfather again. The road you don't know is the one you should fear, no matter who tells you to take it. Maybe that was the last piece of advice they never heard. Outside the tent, the wind shifts, rattling the plastic siding. It sounds almost like soft knocking. A few people glance toward the noise, but no one comments. We're all too focused on the map now. Erin stands straighter, folding her arms. Tomorrow I'm tracking down everyone working in that area in 93. Gas station attendants, rangers, anyone who could have seen them. Somebody remembers something. I nod even though I'm just the guy with the mic. And if they don't... Erin glances at me, her expression unreadable but firm. Then we ask better questions. The heater hums louder, filling the silence for a moment. My recorder catches it all, and I picture you guys sitting in the dark, fan humming in your own rooms, listening. Because here's the truth, no one wants to say out loud tonight. Whoever drew that pencil line wanted Megan and Ryan exactly where they ended up, and we're about to find out who held the pencil. The gas station sits just off a cracked county road, a squat concrete box with faded red trim and a squeaky door that complains every time someone pushes it open. The smell inside is a mix of motor oil, old coffee, and something sweet, probably the stale candy near the register. Arnold Keller is exactly what I expected, and somehow nothing like it. He's thin, wiry, with silver hair that sticks out from under a baseball cap advertising some long-gone tractor brand. His glasses are thick enough to make his eyes look slightly magnified, and he keeps pushing them up his nose every few seconds like he's buying himself time before answering any question. One-liner for you. Some people's faces are like old maps, creased, worn, but still pointing to the truth if you know how to read them. Erin stands next to me, letting me tag along as usual, though she hasn't said outright that I'm allowed to ask questions. She doesn't have to. Arnold already keeps glancing my way, suspicious but not hostile. Elder wisdom comes early today because Arnold doesn't waste time giving it. The road never lies, but people do. He says it while stirring his coffee, his finger tapping the counter like a ticking clock. When Erin shows him the old missing persons flyer, his finger stops. He looks at Megan and Ryan's faces for a long time before nodding slowly. "Yeah," he says. His voice has that gravelly mountain drawl, slow but sure. I remember her hair, bright, like she'd been out in the sun too long. And him, yeah, he talked a lot. Joked about the weather, asked about trail conditions. Erin leans forward. Did they say where they were headed? Mirror Lake? Pretty common back then. What about after they left here? Arnold hesitates, his eyes narrowing slightly. You think I kept track of every car I saw? Erin doesn't push, but the silence works better than words. Finally, Arnold sighs. They weren't the only ones through that morning. There was another fella too, sat here maybe 20 minutes before them. Forestry cap, beat-up boots, walked with a limp like his hip hurt. Weird fact interlude. Limping can actually change the way a person drives. Long-term studies say it subtly alters their reaction times because their foot placement is different. Random, sure, but my brain logged it immediately because what if that limp matters later? Erin's gaze sharpens. Did he talk to them? Arnold shrugs. Not that I saw, but he watched them. I noticed that much. Didn't talk much to anyone, just nursed a soda and stared out the window when they fueled up. Do you remember his name? Arnold shakes his head, but then his fingers start tapping the counter again, faster this time. Wait. There was some talk later that summer. People said a guy with a limp had property near the old mines. Built bunkers, stockpiled stuff. Crazy survivalist rumors. You know how folks talk. Aaron doesn't smile. What was his name? Arnold? Rubs his chin, staring at the floor as if the name's written in the tile. Ledbetter. Boone. Ledbetter. Haven't thought about him in years. One-liner 2. Some names hit the air like they've been waiting 30 years to be spoken out loud. The room feels heavier now. Even the soft hum of the old refrigerator behind the counter sounds too loud. Erin pulls out her notebook, scribbling fast. Do you know if he's still around? Arnold snorts. Doubt it. His trailer burned in the late 90s. County called it an accident, but folks said he moved out before that. Probably hiding out somewhere if he's alive at all. Erin closes her notebook slowly, like sealing a deal. Academic quote break, because I can't help myself. Survivalists often construct controlled narratives about their environment, treating isolation as power. I read that in some behavioral psychology paper once, and now it feels tailor-made for Boone Ledbetter. Erin thanks Arnold, but I linger a second, leaning against the counter. Did you ever see him talk to travelers? Flag anyone down? I ask. Arnold glances at me over his glasses. Not that I saw. But if he wanted you to turn down the wrong road, he didn't need to talk. He just needed to make it look like the right one. That sticks with me more than anything else. One-liner 3. Sometimes the most dangerous directions don't come with words at all. As we leave, the door creaks again, that squeaky hinge almost sounding like a sigh. Outside, the air smells sharper, colder, like the mountain is paying attention now that we've said his name. Erin doesn't speak until we're back in the car. Ledbetter owned land near MCC 12, she says, starting the engine. Her voice is clipped, focused. That's where we look next. I nod, holding the mic closer for you guys. And if he's still alive, Erin doesn't answer right away. She just stares at the road stretching west, blackened trees, casting long shadows across the cracked asphalt. Finally, she says, then we ask him why Megan Doyle and Ryan Strickland never made it to Mirror Lake. The engine hums as we pull away, and for the first time in days, I notice the faintest sound of birds outside. Not many, just one or two, cautious and quiet. Maybe the mountain's listening too. The county records office smells like dust and old paper, that kind of dry, powdery scent that makes you want to sneeze even if you're fine. Fluorescent lights hum overhead, washing everything in pale, washed-out yellow, and the rows of metal filing cabinets look like soldiers standing at attention. Erin moves fast, flipping through property records like she's memorized the entire system. I follow with my mic still clipped, quietly narrating for you guys as I keep pace. 31 years, I whisper. And this is where the trail leads us, paper, not footprints. Because sometimes ghosts leave better records than people who are still alive. One-liner to kick us off. Names don't die, they just wait in filing cabinets until someone calls them out again. Erin pulls a file-free dust puffing up in a soft cloud. She lays it flat on the metal table and I lean closer, stamped across the top in faded ink, Boone Timothy Ledbetter. And there it is, the man Arnold warned us about. Weird fact. Interlude. Did you know land disputes around old mining corridors were common well into the 90s? A lot of those properties were sold cheap to private buyers because no one thought they'd be worth anything. Guess who bought 2 parcels near MCC 12 back in 1989? Yep. Boone. Erin flips through the paperwork, her fingers quick but careful. Look here, she mutters, tapping a stapled form. Trespass complaint. Filed 1991 against federal personnel surveying the area. The name of the complainant is written in bold black ink. Boone T. Ledbetter. He filed the complaint himself, which means he wasn't just some recluse squatting in the woods. He was protective, territorial. One-liner 2. A man who guards dirt like gold isn't just hiding from the world, he's keeping something inside it. Elder wisdom break this time from my great-uncle, who spent his life as a forest ranger. The ones who complain the loudest about trespassers usually have the most to hide. I'm pretty sure Boone would have hated my uncle. Erin keeps reading aloud, her voice steady. 2 plots. One registered under his name. The other, transferred in 1993, just 2 months before Megan and Ryan disappeared. Buyer listed as private, no forwarding address. She flips to the next page, frowning deeper. The second parcel bordered MCC 12 directly. I glance at her. Who was the buyer? Erin squints at the faded print. Emery Talcott. The name lands like a stone dropped in water. I don't even know who he is yet, but the way Erin says it tells me we're going to. Academic quote time. I remember reading somewhere that patterns in criminal behavior often shift hands, not methods. Meaning, if Boone was the start, maybe someone else finished what he began. Erin mutters something under her breath, flipping another page. It's a map of the area, hand-drawn edges smudged with dirt. A red X marks the access corridor where the sealed hatch sits now. We both just stare at it for a second. Weird fact. Interlude number 2. Old property transfers sometimes get flagged if they're done in cash, especially in rural counties. Guess what Boone's 1993 transfer was marked as full cash payment, which means no loan records, no bank trail. One-liner. 3. When someone pays cash for land no one wants, it's not an investment, it's a burial ground. Erin closes the folder slowly, her hand lingering on the dusty paper like she's debating something. Finally, she says, "We need to know if Boone was still around after 1993, and if he wasn't, we need to know what Talcott was doing on that land." I glance around the rows of filing cabinets, their metal sides gleaming faintly under the yellow lights. What if they were both there? I ask. Erin doesn't answer, but her silence feels like a yes. Elder wisdom moment number 2, because it won't leave my head now. My grandma used to say, "A name in the dirt is worth more than a name in a book." She meant that what people carve into the landmines, fences, secret roads, tells you more about them than any legal document ever will. And looking at this file, at Boone's bold, angry handwriting scrawled across complaint forms, I can almost hear him saying it himself. "Stay out. Mine." Erin finally stands, tucking the file into her bag. "We'll visit the site again tomorrow. If there's anything left of Boone's property, we'll find it." As we walk out, the fluorescent lights buzz louder like they're straining against the sudden quiet. Dust hangs in the air behind us, stirred up by our steps, settling back onto the files that will wait another 30 years if no one bothers to ask the right questions. The wind outside is sharp, colder than yesterday, carrying that mountain bite that always feels like a warning. Erin zips her jacket and glances at me. "You still want to keep recording?" she asks. I nod. Mike still pinned the red light glowing. "Yeah," I say quietly. "Because if Boone Ledbetter's name is coming out of the dust now, someone's not going to like it. And I want people to hear it when they realize we're coming." Erin doesn't smile, but I think just maybe she approves. The burned clearing feels different this morning, less like a crime scene and more like a secret being peeled back inch by inch. The wildfire stripped everything to bone, blackened trunks, gray soil, and the faint smell of scorched sap still clinging to the air. But now, there's something new. A rectangle of stones arranged too neatly to be random just a few yards from the shaft. Erin crouches beside it, brushing away ash with her gloves. Her movements are careful, precise, like she's unwrapping a fragile package. "This isn't natural," she says quietly. "No kidding. Stones don't arrange themselves. One-liner to kick us off. The earth doesn't stack rocks in straight lines people do. A tech helps her clear the top layer, revealing warped, half-burnt plywood beneath. The edges are blackened, but you can still see where someone once painted something across it, long faded by time and fire. Maybe a warning, maybe a message. Erin glances at Maddie, the forensic tech, then back at the plywood. "Help me lift it," she says. They pull it back with a groan that cuts through the quiet, revealing dirt stairs, descending into darkness. And just like that, the shaft isn't the only secret anymore. Weird fact interlude. In old mining towns, trap doors like this were sometimes used as emergency escape routes or storage for explosives, but those were always mapped, always marked. This one, no record. And you know what that means. One-liner 2. A door nobody marks is a door somebody doesn't want found. Erin switches on her flashlight, the beam cutting through the stale air. The steps are narrow, uneven, carved roughly into the dirt, with pieces of wood reinforcing the sides. We all stand there for a second, the air weirdly still like the mountain is holding its breath. Even the wind seems to stop at the edge of that opening. Elder wisdom break from my uncle who worked construction. If a stairwell feels like it doesn't want you to walk down, it don't. Too bad we're ignoring that advice today. Erin takes the first step, Maddie following close behind. I stay near the top, recording every sound, the crunch of boots on dirt, the creak of old wood, the low hum of the portable floodlight. Someone angles toward the opening. At about halfway down, Erin stops abruptly. There's something she says, voice echoing slightly. Maddie kneels beside her, shining her light on the wall. Something glints faintly in the beam. Erin brushes away the dirt, and I feel my chest tighten just watching from above. It's a pendant, a thin leather cord with a small bird-shaped charm half buried in the packed soil. Erin holds it up, her gloved fingers careful. The bird is simple, carved from some kind of pale wood, the edges worn smooth from years of wear. Maddie breathes out softly. That's the same as in her photos, isn't it, Megan's? Erin doesn't answer, but her grip tightens slightly on the cord. One-liner 3. Sometimes the smallest thing carries the loudest proof. Weird fact interlude. Bird-shaped pendants have been used as symbols of freedom in different cultures. Norse travelers carved them, and some native tribes wore them to represent safe journeys. Megan probably just thought it was pretty, but right now it feels like a message. Erin finally looks up at me, her face set. "Bag it," she tells Maddie, handing over the pendant. As they move deeper, the air changes heavier, damper, like the smell of old basements after rain. Dust motes drift lazily in the flashlight beams, swirling when they move. When Erin reaches the bottom, her light sweeps across a small chamber barely taller than a person. Dirt walls reinforced with rotting beams, a mattress frame collapsed in one corner, the springs poking out like rusted ribs. She kneels by it, brushing her light across the ground. There's something else there, a scrap of fabric, faded plaid, maybe Ryan's shirt, and near the far wall a small leather notebook warped and curled from moisture. Erin picks it up carefully, flipping to the first dry page that isn't stuck to the next. The handwriting inside is jagged, almost frantic. She doesn't read it aloud, but her face shifts just slightly, like whatever's written there isn't something you want to say out loud with other people around. Elder wisdom break from my grandfather again. When the walls talk, you listen, even if you hate what they're saying. Erin closes the notebook, sliding it into a sealed evidence bag. "We'll read it later," she says, but her voice is tighter now, like she already knows it's bad. Maddie shines her light along the walls, and that's when we see it. Small scratches etched into the packed dirt, faint, but there. Lines almost like tally marks. I can't breathe for a second. Tally marks mean counting, and counting means someone was awake keeping track of days. Erin stares at them for a long time before standing. This wasn't just a hiding spot, she says finally. This was where someone stayed, or was kept. The air feels heavier as they climb back up, like the darkness didn't appreciate being disturbed. Erin hands off the evidence bags to the techs at the surface, then glances toward me. "You wanted the story?" she asks quietly. I nod, make still glowing red. "Yeah." She looks back at the open trap door, the black steps leading into the ground. Then tell them this Megan Doyle was alive down there long enough to count the days. The wind picks up, suddenly blowing ash across the stones we uncovered, as if the mountain is trying to cover the door again. But it's too late now. The journal smells like mildew and old paper, the kind of smell that makes you want to hold it at arm's length even though you can't stop looking at it. It's smaller than I expected, leather-bound edges curled like it spent years soaking in damp air. Aaron sits at a folding table under the floodlight gloves on turning the pages, slowly, carefully, like the whole thing might fall apart if she moves too fast. Maddie hovers nearby, her flashlight angled just enough to give us a clear view, but her face is pale. None of us are really ready for what's written inside. One-liner to start us off. Sometimes the worst stories don't need full sentences, just dates. The first few pages are blank, water-stained, but then the handwriting starts. Jagged, rushed, like someone was scribbling in the dark. The first entry that isn't smeared starts simple. August 23rd, she stopped crying today. He says that means we're making progress. Aaron reads it out loud, her voice flat, controlled, but I feel the words like a weight in my chest. She stopped crying today. Weird fact interlude. Handwriting experts say sharp, uneven letters with exaggerated pressure often indicate stress or agitation. Whoever wrote this was not calm. Aaron turns to the next page. August 25th. The boy keeps coughing. He's weak. He says he wants to go home. I told him he doesn't have one anymore. The boy, Ryan. Elder wisdom break, because I need something to cling to right now. My grandmother used to say, the way people talk about others tells you who they really are. And this writer, whoever they are, they're cruel enough to strip away hope like it's part of the process. One-liner. 2. The scariest monsters are the ones who think they're teaching you something while they hurt you. Erin flips another page, her fingers pausing slightly at the corner like she's bracing herself. August 28th. I hate the bird. She doesn't sing anymore. She just stares. He says we're breaking her, but I don't believe it. Erin exhales, setting the page down for a second. Bird, she says softly. Maddie nods, voice almost a whisper. Megan's pendant. Yeah, the wooden bird charm we found under the trap door. Whoever wrote this gave her that name, or maybe that was just what she became to them. Academic quote moment I read in a criminal psychology article once: dehumanization is the first step to making cruelty systematic. Calling her the bird instead of Megan. That's exactly what this is. The pages smear badly after that water damage, blurring whole lines, but Erin keeps turning them. Then halfway through the ink changes slightly darker, less frantic, like someone took their time now. September 2nd. He says I'm doing better. She's quiet most of the time. He says I have to learn patience. The boy is useless, won't eat. She hides food for him. Erin's jaw tightens. She was still trying to take care of him, she mutters almost to herself. One-liner 3. Even trapped birds feed each other when they can. Erin flips one more page, and this one is worse. The handwriting is calmer now, almost steady, which somehow makes it feel more chilling. September 6th. The boy isn't coughing anymore. She cried all day. He says that's good, means she knows the rules now. Maddie steps back, pressing a hand to her mouth. The tent goes quiet except for the soft hum of the heater. Elder wisdom break from my dad this time. You can tell a good man by how he treats people who can't fight back. Whoever wrote this, they failed that test a long time ago. The entries stop abruptly after that. A few more pages are blank, then just scribbles, almost like someone used the last of the pages to test a pen. Erin closes the journal, slowly staring at the cover. Her gloves leave faint smudges on the worn leather, and for a second she doesn't say anything. Finally, she looks up at me. This wasn't written by one person, she says. Maddie frowns. What do you mean? Erin taps the closed journal. 2 different writing styles, The first half's jagged rushed, the second half's cleaner controlled. Someone else wrote these later. And just like that, the weight in the room doubles. Because if there were two people involved, that changes everything. Weird fact break, because, I can't stop myself even when it's awful. Forensic document analysis can sometimes tell you not just who wrote something, but when they wrote it based on ink oxidation. Meaning, we might be able to date those second entries separately. Erin's already packing the journal into a sealed bag, her face set in that focused way she gets when she's about to chase something hard. This isn't just Boone led better anymore, she says quietly. Someone else carried this on after him. The air in the tent feels heavy, almost too still, like the mountain itself is listening. I glance at Megan's photo on the corkboard, her half smile frozen in time. And for a second, I can almost imagine her voice whispering through the stale air of that trapdoor. Don't let them forget. And we won't. Not now. Because the Journal of August isn't just words on paper. It's proof Megan fought even when they tried to break her. And if she fought, we owe it to her to keep fighting too. The evidence board is starting to look like a spider web. Strings, photos, scanned documents, all crisscrossing lines that don't make sense yet, but you can feel the shape of something forming. Erin stands in front of it, her arms crossed, staring like she can will the pieces into place. The journal sits in a clear evidence bag on the table behind her. Pages, still damp ink smudged in places, but the words we've already read hang heavy in the air. One-liner to start us off. Patterns don't hide in the dark, they wait for you to turn the lights on. Erin taps a photo on the board, Megan's pendant. The little wooden bird then slides her finger along a line of old missing persons flyers Maddie pinned up earlier. Different faces, different dates, all women in their 20s, all gone without a trace between 1992 and 2000. 23 missing, Erin says flatly. 4 confirmed, tied to Boone. But what about the rest? Maddie frowns, adjusting her glasses. You think they're connected? Erin doesn't answer right away, but her silence feels louder than words. Weird fact time. Behavioral analysts say when crimes repeat in similar patterns, there's usually either a shared location, a shared motive, or a shared teacher. And that's what keeps sticking in my head. Elder wisdom break from my grandfather again because his voice fits in here. When two men build the same kind of trap, one of them learned it from the other. Erin takes a deep breath. The writing in the second half of the journal doesn't match Boone's old files. We already pulled samples from his property tax complaints, completely different style, which means someone else picked this up after him. Maddie glances back at the photos. A copycat, Erin shakes her head. No, this isn't imitation. This is continuation. One line or two copycats play pretend. Successors keep the game alive. I move closer to the board. My mic's still on, capturing every quiet word. So, we're not just looking at a single guy with a trap door, I say. We're looking at... what? A relay. Like one person handed it off to another, Erin doesn't deny it. She points to the second writing sample from the journal, the one with the cleaner strokes. The timing fits. Boone disappeared in the late 90s. But the missing persons list doesn't stop there. Whoever came after him knew the terrain, knew the method, and maybe learned from his mistakes. That thought makes my stomach twist. Academic. Quote break. A criminologist once wrote, "Long-term offenders rarely create true apprentices, but obsessive patterns attract obsessive minds." Meaning maybe whoever followed Boone didn't need to be taught. Maybe they just wanted to finish what he started. Maddie steps closer to the board, tracing a finger over the line, connecting Boone's photo to the newer missing person flyers. If this is true, some of these cases could still be cold because nobody realized they were connected. Different counties, different years. Erin nods slowly. Exactly. The pattern wasn't obvious because the names changed, the technique changed, but the locations, she taps the map. all within 300 miles of MCC-12. Weird fact interlude. A 2017 study mapped serial offender travel patterns and found that most stayed within a familiar range, usually within 200 miles of their home or safe zone. Boone's mine was probably that zone, and whoever came after him kept it as the anchor point. One-liner 3. People move on, but habits stay where they're comfortable. Aaron pins another document to the board, a property transfer record we pulled yesterday. Emery Talcott. That name again. Emery bought the land in '93. Aaron says, her tone clipped. But there's no record of him selling it, no forwarding address after 2002. He just disappears. I glance at the name, the neat black print on the paper, so he could still be out there. Aaron doesn't look away from the board, or someone using his land could be. Elder wisdom break again, this one from my dad. Land doesn't care who owns it, only people do. And yeah, this land cared about whoever kept digging trapdoors. The heater hums in the corner, filling the silence for a moment, as we all stare at the web of names and dates. The faces on the missing person flyers seem to stare back frozen smiles that didn't know they were walking into someone else's ritual. Finally, Aaron turns to Maddie. Run cross-references on every missing person in that radius between '92 and 2010. Look for women ages 16 to 30. Cross-check vehicle types, last known routes, anything that matches Megan and Ryan's detour. Maddie nods, already reaching for her laptop. I sit back slightly, the hum of the heater mixing with the soft tapping of Maddie's keys, and glance at the journal still sealed in its bag. One of those last pages, the one with the cleaner handwriting, keeps flashing in my mind. The bird doesn't sing anymore, because if there's a pattern, that means Megan wasn't the first, and worse, she might not have been the last. Aaron finally steps back, crossing her arms again. We find the link, she says quietly. We find who carried this on. And for the first time tonight, I see something in her eyes that wasn't there before. Not just determination, but anger. The kind of anger that burns slow, the kind you use to keep digging when everyone else wants to stop. Outside, the wind picks up, rattling the tent walls, and for just a second, it sounds like whispers, like the mountain itself agreeing with her, because patterns don't stay hidden forever, not when you're ready to pull them out of the shadows. The journal sits under a bright forensic lamp now, every page carefully pressed flat under clear plastic. 2 different handwriting samples, Boone's messy, blocky scrawl, and the second cleaner style that looks almost methodical. Aaron stands over it with a magnifier in hand, her jaw set. One-liner to kick us off. The first hand builds the trap. The second hand perfects it. And that's exactly what this feels like. Maddie's laptop hums softly in the corner lines of scanned text, comparing the journal's second entries to other writing samples in the database. The screen flashes results every few minutes, but so far, nothing's sticking. We're looking at 2 different people, Aaron says, flatly, not even glancing up from the journal. The second writer didn't just stumble onto this. They studied Boone's methods, continued them. Weird fact break. Forensic handwriting analysts can tell if someone's trying to copy another person's style. The second handwriting doesn't mimic Boone's. It's its own natural flow, which means whoever wrote it wasn't pretending to be Boone. They wanted their own mark. Elder wisdom time, courtesy of my grandfather. You can't hide your rhythm. Even if you try your hands, remember their own dance. That's why the second writer stands out, too smooth, too deliberate. Aaron finally sets the magnifier down. The second half of these entries starts around late August, maybe early September '93, right after Megan and Ryan disappeared. Which means Boone wasn't alone. I say quietly, my mic catching every word. Aaron nods, still focused on the journal. Or he handed this off to someone when he couldn't continue. One-liner. 2 monsters don't always die. Sometimes they just change names. Maddie suddenly speaks up, her voice breaking the heavy silence. Got something. We all turn toward her screen. She scrolls through the database, stopping at a scanned DMV form from 1993. The signature at the bottom in neat, careful cursive looks eerily close to the second handwriting in the journal. The name, Emery Talcott. Erin leans closer, her jaw tightening. Run it again. Confirm the percentage. Maddie taps a few keys. 94% probability match. And there it is. Emery Talcott didn't just buy Boone's land. He wrote in that journal. Academic quote, time, because it fits too perfectly. Criminal succession thrives where systems are private, isolated, and unmonitored. Boone's hidden mine was the perfect system. Talcott just stepped in when the opportunity opened. Erin crosses her arms, staring at the screen. So, Boone disappears. Talcott takes over and the pattern keeps going. I can't help but ask, why keep the same method? Why not change everything? Erin glances at me, her expression unreadable. Because the method worked. That sends a chill straight through me. One-liner 3. If a trap keeps catching birds, no one changes the bait. Maddie clicks through a few more files, pulling up Talcott's background. Minimal criminal record, she says, scanning the screen. 1 citation for illegal hunting in 92 Grand County. No other arrests. But she scrolls, he bought 3 separate parcels of land between 93 and 96. All cash, all near decommissioned mines. Erin exhales slowly. So MCC 12 wasn't the only one. Weird fact. Interlude. Old Colorado mining registries list over 500 decommissioned shafts in that region, and at least a quarter aren't even properly mapped anymore. Plenty of places to hide things, or people. Erin steps closer to the board, pinning Talcott's DMV photo next to Boone's, connecting them with a red string. Boone looks rough unshaven in his ID photo, while Talcott's image shows a man in his 30s with neat hair and a serious expression. Elder wisdom break again. My grandma used to say, the cleanest hands are often the ones that do the dirtiest work. They just wash better. Talcott definitely looks like he knew how to wash his hands. Erin finally turns toward me, her tone clipped. If Talcott's still alive, we need to find him before anyone else vanishes. I nod, still recording, feeling the weight of that name settle in my stomach like a stone. Erin turns back to Maddie. Check property transfers after 2000. If he sold any of those parcels or transferred them to someone else, we need to know who. Maddie nods, already typing. Outside, the wind rattles the tent walls again, sharp and sudden, making the evidence board sway. Talcott's photo shifts slightly, the red string pulling taut between his face and Boone's. For just a second, it looks like the two men are staring at each other, like one passed the torch to the other knowingly. And maybe he did. Erin finally steps back, her voice lower now. If Talcott learned from Boone, he's smarter, more careful. But no one stays hidden forever. I glance at the journal one more time, the bag fogging slightly under the lamp's heat. The last entry flashes in my mind. She doesn't sing anymore. She just stares. Because if Talcott wrote that he wasn't just keeping Boone's ritual alive, he was perfecting it. And that means we're not done yet. Not even close. The road to the old Talcott property feels like it's been forgotten on purpose. The asphalt cracks into jagged pieces, weeds clawing up through the seams, and every turn feels tighter than it should, like the forest is trying to squeeze us out. Erin drives in silence, her hands steady on the wheel, eyes scanning the tree line. I sit in the passenger seat, mic clipped as usual, narrating in a low voice for you guys, because the quiet here feels like it might shatter if I talk too loud. One-liner to start us off. Some roads don't feel abandoned. They feel like they're waiting for you. We're headed to Talcott's land, the one he bought in 93, right after Boone vanished. County records listed it as private hunting acreage, but when Maddie pulled satellite images this morning, There were faint tracks, tire grooves looping around what looked like a collapsed cement shaft. Aaron called it immediately. He's still using it, and that's where we're going now. Weird fact interlude. Moss grows faster on the north-facing sides of abandoned structures, which makes old hunters' cabins easy to date by how uneven the green spread is. Talcott's property has fresh moss scraped away in streaks, which means someone's been moving around out there recently. One-liner 2. A man who cleans moss off old stone isn't doing it for curb appeal. Aaron slows as we hit the last stretch of road gravel crunching under the tires. The forest here feels heavier, darker, even in daylight. Branches hang low, brushing the windshield like fingers. Elder wisdom from my great-uncle the ranger. If the woods go quiet when you show up, you're not alone. And yeah, the birds stopped singing about 3 miles back. Aaron finally pulls off onto a dirt path, parking behind a thicket of pines. We walk from here, she says, stepping out and slinging her pack over her shoulder. The air is cool, sharp, with the smell of pine and damp soil. My boots crunch over dead leaves as we follow the faint trail Maddie marked from the satellite photos. After about 15 minutes, we see it a clearing with a low cement collar jutting from the ground, half hidden under rusted scrap and broken tree limbs. Aaron crouches beside it, brushing away leaves. A heavy chain loops through 2 iron handles locked tight with a rusted padlock. She glances at me. Tire tracks, she says, nodding toward the dirt. And yeah, now that I look closer, they're their faint grooves circling the shaft, fresh enough that they haven't been washed out by rain yet. Weird fact: brake tire tread impressions can last weeks in dry conditions if undisturbed. These are sharp, distinct. Days old, maybe less. Aaron pulls out her phone, snapping photos. Someone's been guarding this. One-liner 3. You don't guard an empty hole unless you're worried someone might open it. Maddie catches up to us, breathing slightly heavier from the hike. She crouches beside Aaron, studying the lock. This isn't old, she says, tapping the metal. Weatherproof coating, modern design. Bought within the last decade. Aaron nods, her jaw tightening. Then Talcott, or whoever took over, still cares about what's inside. Elder wisdom break again from my grandfather: locks don't keep things out. They keep secrets in. Aaron stands scanning the tree line. We'll need a team to open this properly. For now, document everything. While Maddie snaps more photos, I move closer to the edge, peering down into the gap where the chain doesn't quite cover the collar. It's too dark to see much, but the air coming up is cold, damp, carrying that same stale mineral smell we found at MCC 12. And just like before, it feels like the ground is breathing. Academic quote moment. Rituals require consistency to feel complete. I read that in a behavioral analysis once, which means if Talcott used one mine, he probably used others the same way, the same methods. And this shaft. It's probably another chapter in the same story. Aaron crouches beside the tracks again, studying the tire marks. These don't match standard trucks. Narrower treads may be an ATV or utility vehicle. Which means he's been here recently, I say. Aaron glances at me, her expression grim. Or he's still coming back. Often. The idea makes the woods feel smaller, closer, like someone could be watching us right now. Elder wisdom reminder from my dad this time: if you feel watched in the woods, you probably are. The question is, by what? Aaron finally steps back, pulling out her radio. We'll request a full search crew. No one touches this until we're ready. The wind shifts as she speaks, rustling the trees, and for a split second I think I hear something else under the sound, a faint creak like old wood moving. But when I look around, nothing's there. Aaron notices me scanning the trees. You hear something? Maybe just the wind, I say, but my voice doesn't sound convincing even to me. Aaron doesn't reply, but her eyes linger on the forest edge longer than they need to. As we start back toward the trail, I glance over my shoulder one last time at the chain shaft. The rusted scrap around it shifts slightly in the breeze, but it almost looks deliberate, like someone placed it just so enough to hide the opening if you weren't looking for it. One-liner. 4. Yeah, I'm giving you a bonus because it fits. The best hiding places are the ones that look like they've already been found, and this one, it's not done hiding yet. The recording lab smells like metal and burnt dust, that sharp tang electronics get when they've been running too long. The hum of the transfer equipment fills the room soft and steady like a distant generator. Everyone's quiet, not because anyone told us to be, but because of what's about to play through the speakers. The tape, Megan's tape, has been cleaned and digitized. A technician sits at the console, fingers hovering over the keyboard, waiting for Aaron's nod. One-liner to begin. Some voices don't echo because they want to be heard. They echo because they need to be. Aaron stands stiffly beside the console, her arms crossed, but her knuckles are white where she grips the edge of the table. Maddie is on her other side, notebook in hand, though we all know no notes will ever capture what this tape's about to give us. The tech hits play. At first, it's just static, crackling, soft and uneven, like wind rustling across dry leaves. Then faintly, a voice. A woman's voice. Megan's. Her words are broken, almost whispered at first. This is Day. I don't know. I think 7. Her breath catches between syllables uneven. If someone hears this, if anyone hears this. We were wrong about the road. Don't trust. The tape crackles hard, skipping, and when it comes back, her tone has changed. She's singing. Not loud, not strong, but soft, steady, almost like a lullaby. One-liner. 2. When you can't fight, you sing not for them, but for yourself. The song is simple, a child's rhyme. Mama's in the kitchen cutting up the pie. Her voice wavers on the word pie, breaking slightly, but she keeps going, repeating the line again and again like it's the only thing holding her together. I feel my throat tighten, listening. She's not singing to entertain anyone. She's singing to stay sane. Elder wisdom time, because it fits perfectly. My grandmother used to hum old church hymns when she was scared during storms, and she always said, "A song is a rope, you hold on to it until the dark lets go." Megan's rope was this song. The tape jumps again, a new clip fading in. Megan's voice is different now, calmer, quieter, almost hollow. "He hates when I sing," she whispers. "That's why I keep doing it. He can't stand it. He says it's in his head all night." Aaron's jaw tightens. Maddie presses a hand to her mouth. Because Megan wasn't just surviving, she was fighting in the only way she could. One-liner 3. Some rebellions are loud. Others are just a single voice refusing to go silent. The tape crackles again, static swallowing a few seconds. Then Megan's voice comes back almost too faint to hear. "If you're listening, if anyone's listening, I'm still here." The words hang in the air heavy before the recording cuts abruptly to static. The tech pauses, the file silence settling over the room like a weight. Weird fact break, because it feels necessary to breathe. Sound engineers say older analog tapes sometimes capture background noise more clearly than digital because of their sensitivity to low frequencies, which means, yeah, we might be able to pull other sounds from this recording, maybe even the voice of whoever she was talking about. Aaron exhales slowly, her eyes still on the screen. Run a full spectrographic analysis. Separate every background frequency. If he's there, I want his voice. The tech nods, already typing. Academic quote for the moment: defiance is the language of the powerless, and its smallest gestures leave the deepest marks. I don't even remember who said it, but it's all I can think about right now. Megan's song wasn't just for herself, it's why we're here listening decades later. Aaron finally turns to Maddie. Get this to the DOJ for voice authentication. If Talcott's name shows up in any recorded databases, we'll know. Maddie nods, her voice still quiet. You think she knew she might die? Aaron glances back at the frozen waveform on the monitor. Megan's last whispered words etched into a digital pattern. She knew, but she recorded this anyway. That means she wanted someone to find it. Elder wisdom break this one from my dad. People don't leave words behind for the dead. They leave them for the living to finish the job. And Megan just handed us the job. The tape rewinds automatically, the soft whir filling the silence. For a moment, no one moves. Then the tech restarts, the first 5 seconds static. Then Megan's shaky whisper. If someone hears this. Because now we're hearing her. And even though it's 31 years too late, her voice isn't gone. Not anymore. Aaron finally looks at me, her expression unreadable, but softer somehow. You wanted a story, she says. I nod, mic still glowing. Yeah, I whisper. But this one's hers. The wind outside picks up, rattling the windows of the lab, and for a second, it almost sounds like a song. The dirt road to Talcott's cabin feels like it's actively trying to turn us around. It winds too sharply, dips into gullies where rainwater once cut deep scars, and the trees grow so close they scrape the sides of Aaron's utility vehicle. When we finally stop, the cabin comes into view, a squat wooden structure tucked between leaning pines, its roof sagging under years of neglect. There's no power lines, no satellite dish, nothing but a thin trail of tire tracks leading to the door. One-liner to start. Some houses don't feel empty. They feel like they're holding their breath. Erin kills the engine, her eyes scanning the tree line before she speaks. No cell reception. Keep your mic running, but don't count on help if something goes wrong. Elder wisdom from my great-uncle the ranger comes to mind immediately. The safest place in the woods is never the quietest one. And this place, dead silent. We step out into the cold mountain air, boots crunching over dry pine needles. Maddie lags a step behind her camera ready, while Aaron leads the way toward the cabin, moving carefully like every inch of ground could be wired. Weird fact break. Survivalist cabins like this often have false walls or underground storage, built to hide supplies or people. It's practically a signature feature for anyone paranoid enough to live off the grid. One-liner 2. The more someone hides from the world, the more they're hiding in it. The front door creaks as Aaron pushes it open, the wood splintering slightly around the handle. The air inside hits us immediately, stale, musty, like trapped dust, and something faintly metallic. A single beam of light filters through a hole in the roof, catching motes of dust that swirl lazily like tiny ghosts. The interior is sparse. A wooden table with one leg propped up by a brick, a metal cot against the far wall, its thin mattress torn open, yellowed stuffing spilling out. Shelves lined with empty cans and old glass jars, all neatly arranged like someone cared about keeping order even in decay. Erin steps in first, her flashlight cutting across the room. Maddie follows, snapping photos, her boots crunching over broken glass near the door. Then I hear it. At first I think it's just wind slipping through the cracks, but then it comes again, soft, rhythmic. A voice, singing. The same childlike rhyme Megan sang on the tape. Mama's in the kitchen, cutting up the pie. It's coming from the back room. Elder wisdom. Flashback my dad again. If you hear something you shouldn't in a place you don't belong, decide fast whether you're staying or leaving. Don't linger, but we don't have that luxury. Erin signals for silence, her hand raised, then gestures toward the back. Her other hand hovers near her holster. One-liner 3. A song in the wrong place is never just a song. We move slowly, the wooden floor creaking under our weight. The singing stops abruptly, replaced by silence so heavy I can hear my own heartbeat in my ears. Aaron pushes the half-broken door to the back room, open flashlight beam, sweeping across the shadows. The room is small, just a desk against the wall and a chair tucked under it. But the smell is stronger here, damp wood rust and something almost like wet earth. On the desk sits a stack of yellowed newspaper clippings, all about missing women. Handwritten notes cover the margins, phrases like "too public" and "quiet" type possible. And on top of the stack, almost perfectly centered, is a small cloth pouch. Aaron picks it up carefully, loosening the drawstring. Inside is a wooden bird pendant, the same shape as Megan's, the same worn edges. Except this one isn't hers. It's darker, carved differently, almost newer. Weird fact break. Wooden pendants like this are easy to replicate, but the grain patterns can still be matched to tools used for carving. Forensics will tell us if Talcott made this one. Erin's jaw tightens as she turns it over in her gloved hand. He kept making them, she says quietly. Maddie exhales shakily, snapping a photo. Then the floor creaks not under us, somewhere outside. Aaron freezes, signaling for silence. We all listen. Another creak, closer this time. Elder wisdom pounding in my head now. The woods don't sneak. People do. Aaron moves toward the front, peeking through the cracked wooden blinds. The forest outside looks the same, still and quiet, but she doesn't relax. Pack it up, she says finally, voice low but firm. We're leaving. Now. Maddie slides the pouch into an evidence bag, hands trembling slightly, and we back toward the door, slowly, careful not to make more noise. The air outside feels colder now, heavier, like the mountain itself is watching. We reach the utility vehicle quickly, Aaron scanning the tree line every few seconds. As we pull away, I glance back at the cabin one last time. The wind shifts, and for just a second I swear I hear it again, that same soft singing, barely audible over the engine. Mama's in the kitchen cutting up the pie. But when I look, the cabin is empty, dark and still. One-liner 4. Some voices don't come from who's there. They come from who never left. Erin doesn't look back as we drive, but her grip on the wheel is tighter than usual. He's been here, she says, her tone clipped. And if he's smart, he knows we were too. The road curves sharply as we leave the clearing, and the woods seem to close behind us, swallowing the cabin whole. Because whoever's been guarding that place, they're still out here. The interrogation room smells like stale coffee and disinfectant, the kind of sterile mix that never quite covers the tension in the air. The walls are that dull government gray, and the single overhead light hums with a soft electric buzz. Emery Talcott sits across from Aaron at the metal table, his wrists cuffed loosely in front of him. He's older now, late 60s maybe, but there's a strange sharpness to him, like time didn't dull the edges. His hair is white, trimmed, neat, and his hands, even in cuffs, rest calmly on the table, steady as stone. One-liner to start. Some people don't look guilty. They look like they've been waiting to be asked the right question. Aaron sits opposite him, her posture straight, voice level. Maddie stands by the door silent, and I'm behind the observation glass mic, clipped recording every second, because this is the moment everything has been leading to. Emery doesn't speak at first. He just studies Aaron, his pale eyes, unblinking like he's cataloging her. Aaron breaks the silence. You bought Boone Ledbetter's land in 1993. Emery's mouth twitches, almost a smile. I bought a lot of land. Aaron slides the evidence photo of the wooden bird pendant across the table. You carved these. He doesn't look at the photo. Maybe I did. A man's allowed to carve birds, isn't he? Aaron's jaw tightens. Megan Doyle had one. Ryan Strickland died near a shaft you locked. Hannah Claire had one too. You kept making them. You kept taking them. Emery finally looks at the photo, tilting his head slightly. She sang. His voice softens almost a whisper. She wouldn't stop singing. Weird fact break. Interrogation experts say when suspects volunteer sensory details like sound unprompted, it's often because that detail haunts them more than anything else. Elder wisdom flashback from my dad. If a man tells you what kept him up at night, that's the truth he can't bury. And right now, Megan's song is Emery's Truth. One-liner 2. The things you hate in someone else are usually the things you can't kill in yourself. Erin doesn't flinch. She sang because you wanted her to stop being herself, and she wouldn't give you that. Emery leans back slightly, his eyes narrowing. Boone said breaking them was the point. But she... His voice cracks just slightly. She didn't break. She just stared at me singing that stupid song, over and over, even when... He stops, jaw tightening. Erin leans forward, her tone calm but sharp, even when what Emery exhales slowly, his fingers twitching once against the table. She walked. She got out. I found her at the ridge. I pulled her back. The room goes silent. One-liner 3. Confessions don't always sound like guilt. Sometimes they sound like regret someone doesn't know how to name. Erin doesn't break eye contact. What did you do to her after you pulled her back? Emery doesn't answer. His eyes drift to the pendant in the photo, his expression distant. Erin's voice drops quieter now. You kept going after Boone. You learned from him, but you weren't him. Why? Emery's eyes flick to her, and for the first time, something almost like anger flashes there. Because someone had to keep the pattern. It was supposed to be perfect, until she ruined it. Erin leans back slightly, her jaw set. Perfect. You call what you did perfect. Emery doesn't respond, his gaze back on the pendant, almost like he's not in the room anymore. Weird fact interlude. Serial successors often believe they're continuing a legacy, not just committing crimes. Psychologists call it successive identity adoption. Emery isn't just confessing he thinks he inherited something. Erin stands slowly, sliding the photo back into her file. You're done, Emery. But the people you hurt aren't, and we're going to find every name you wrote in that journal. She nods to Maddie, who opens the door, signaling the officers waiting outside. As they lead Emery out, he glances at the glass, and for a second his eyes lock with mine. There's no smile, no anger, just something flat, empty, like he's already moved on in his head to somewhere else. Elder wisdom. One last time from my grandfather. The worst kind of silence is the kind that doesn't feel sorry. And that's Emery Talcott in one sentence. Erin steps out of the room, her face set, but her shoulders tight with the weight of it. We'll need full excavation at every property he owned, she says, her voice low. There are more victims. There always are. Maddie nods, already typing notes into her tablet. I keep my mic running because even if Emery thinks his silence wins, Megan's song already broke through it. One-liner 4 to close. The truth doesn't care if you stop talking. It just waits until someone else sings it out loud. Erin glances at me as we walk down the hall. Get this on record, she says quietly. I nod. I already did. Because Megan's voice may have been the first to sing, but now everyone's going to hear her. The ridge is quiet now, the kind of quiet that feels earned after years of holding too many secrets. The sun is just starting to slip behind the tree line, staining the sky with streaks of orange and fading gold. The wildfire cleared most of the underbrush, leaving a wide bare slope, but you can still see where the forest used to close in thick around this place. Erin stands a few feet ahead of me, her boots planted in the soft dirt, looking out over the view. The lake shimmers in the distance, silver and calm, reflecting the sky like nothing bad ever happened here. One-liner to start us off. Some places don't feel haunted because of ghosts. They feel haunted because of the silence they kept too long. This is where Megan might have stood, where she might have gotten out of that trap just for a moment before Emery pulled her back. I walk closer, my mic clipped as always, whispering for you guys because it feels wrong to talk too loud here. This is it, I say softly. The ridge. The place she almost made it. Erin kneels near the edge, brushing the dirt with her gloved hand. See this? She says, pointing to a shallow depression in the ground. It's where the car was half buried for decades. She probably made it this far. I crouch beside her, staring at the small marks in the dirt. They look random to anyone else, but the more I stare, the more I can almost picture it, her boots slipping in the loose gravel, her hands clawing at the slope trying to climb higher. Elder wisdom break from my grandma because it fits too well. The hardest ground you'll ever walk is the ground you're trying to leave behind. Erin stands again, her gaze still fixed on the lake. She got this far, she says quietly. That matters. Even if he dragged her back, she got out. She tried. One-liner. 2. Escaping isn't just about getting away. Sometimes it's about proving you still can. The wind picks up soft and cool, carrying that faint mountain smell, pine ash, and something older like damp stone. It rushes through the ridge, lifting small swirls of dust that shimmer briefly in the sunset light. Erin turns, slightly glancing at me. You're still recording, right? Always. I say, my voice low. She nods once. Good, because people need to hear this. She looks back at the lake, her voice softer now. We can't give her back her life, but we can make sure the silence doesn't win. And for the first time in this whole investigation, her voice sounds almost gentle. Weird fact break, just because I can't help myself. Scientists say certain birds will sing louder after a forest fire, not quieter, as if claiming back the silence. Maybe that's what Megan was doing when she kept singing, claiming back what they tried to take. One-liner 3. A voice doesn't have to win to matter. It just has to keep trying. The sun drops lower, casting long shadows across the ridge. I sit down on a rock, letting the fan hum of the recorder fill the quiet for you guys listening later. Remember the toothpaste incident, I say, softly, almost smiling. How I told you, sometimes the smallest, dumbest things stick in your memory forever. That's what this ridge feels like. It's small, quiet, but it sticks. Erin doesn't respond, but I see her glance down at the dirt again, her boots still planted firm. Elder wisdom, one last time from my dad. Stand where someone else stood, and you'll feel more than their weight. You'll feel what they left behind. And standing here now, I feel it, the stubbornness, the fight, the hope she carried, even when she had every reason to give up. Erin finally turns toward me, her voice steady again. We're wrapping here. Excavation crews will work the site tomorrow, but tonight, she looks back at the lake one last time. Tonight, this is hers. The sun slips lower, painting the lake silver and gold. The wind moves through the ridge again, softer this time, like a sigh. One-liner 4 to close. Some stories don't end where they should. They end where someone decided not to give up. And Megan didn't. Not really. As we head back toward the trail, I glance over my shoulder one last time. The ridge glows faintly in the last bit of sunlight, the dirt shifting slightly in the breeze, almost like a wave goodbye. The silence doesn't feel so heavy now, because maybe finally someone listened. The night feels different now, softer, as if the mountains themselves are settling after holding their breath for too long. The wind that moves through the blackened trees isn't sharp anymore. It's quiet, steady, like it's carrying something lighter than secrets for once. We found answers, but not all of them. Boone Ledbetter is gone. His legacy handed off to Emery Talcott, who carried it forward like it was something worth preserving. But Megan Doyle. Megan's voice broke it. Not with strength, not with escape, but with a song. It's strange, isn't it? All this searching, all this evidence, and the one thing that mattered most was a woman humming a child's rhyme in the dark. Her song didn't save her life, but it saved her story. It made sure 31 years later we'd still be here listening. Erin doesn't say much tonight. She just stands at the edge of the ridge, her face unreadable, her silence almost respectful. Maddie keeps fussing with her camera, snapping the last few photos before the sun fades like she's trying to hold onto the light as long as possible. And me, I'm sitting on this cold rock talking to you, because that's what I promised, to keep telling it until it's done. But here's the truth. Stories like this aren't ever really done. There are still other names, other ridges, other quiet places, waiting for someone to turn over the stones. Still, for tonight, it feels enough to sit here watching the sky darken, listening to the soft hum of the wind, because for the first time in 31 years, the silence doesn't win. Good night, Megan. We heard you.